Now let's hear how AI agents are transforming the mortgage industry. I'm Kerry Chow, joined by Jeff Green, Managing Director, Mortgage and Lending at Salesforce, and Paul Akinmade, Chief Strategy Officer, CMG Financial. First of all, gentlemen, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Paul, Jeff, I'm curious, what are you hearing from our customers about agentic AI in the mortgage industry?
Yeah, so very much appreciate being here today. I think when the year started, there was a lot of dialogue about how do I keep iterating on my Salesforce instance and think about AI and agentic when I get there. About halfway through the year, that stopped. And everybody started making a move very, very quickly, either for internal efficiency, for internal operational efficiency type agentic approach, or external to be borrower facing. So we've seen the install base really run at a breakneck speed, and I think an innovator, true innovator on our platform, a trailblazer, is Paul at CMG.
I mean, speaking of which, Paul, thank you for being here, right? And is what Jeff said kind of in line with what you're experiencing at CMG, just rapid fire?
So I think if you look at where we've evolved from, we started first on the low-level stuff marketing years back, where we could leverage it everywhere. Content generation, graphic generation, video generation. And most recently, we've been trying to upscale our CI/CD pipeline. Go ahead and make sure that when we have an idea, we can take it all the way through. Now we're at that level, and we're starting to build applications. And it's like, how do you orchestrate that? So that's where we're really partnering with Salesforce to find out ways to go ahead and say, hey, how do you roll out a lot of applications at scale that are agentic, have management controls in place, and be able to deliver them to your entire Salesforce. So I think that's where we're going, that's where we've been, and something we're very, very excited about.
And talking about very excited about, how is CMG Financial planning to use Agentforce to, say, boost productivity, drive revenue?
Sure, so very easily, I think right off the bat, reduction of manufacturing cost. We have to find ways to get our people more scale, and that's across the entity, right? That's for our loan officers, making sure they're not doing rote tasks and doing rote follow-up. That's for our operational line, so people who are manufacturing the loan, we have to make sure that they can do it. Even for the people checking the loan, our underwriters and our QC group, we're going to be needing to leverage AI in a way that gives them a capacity level that's not in percentages, but in factors, right? So how do we get somebody 3x productivity? And those are the things that we're looking at and really diving deep into finding out, here's what they do on a daily basis, here's how they do 3 times more.
I like that. In which areas, Jeff, I'm curious, in which areas of mortgage lending do you think agentic AI will have the most impact?
Yeah, I'd say there's 3 areas. I think from a borrower experience perspective, making mortgage on par with the way that you think about the way you buy a product, or you go to the grocery store. I think the days of an old, calcified, outdated process that you know has pain associated with it and you accept that is over. Yeah. I think from an internal operations perspective, back to what Paul was saying, it just can't cost $11,000 or $12,000 to produce a mortgage anymore. And so on doc generation, on the ways that employees are more efficient, not only on cost per funded loan, but really thinking about days to close, I think you're going to see an absolute jumpstart in that in a way that is game-changing and sort of perpetually game-changing. I think the last one is cross-sell, upsell. I think this notion of a customer, we talk about at Salesforce a lot, a customer for life. I think a financial institution's ability to really work with the customer, pure certainty and provide certainty that you can close that mortgage process and then think about what's next. I think that's the type of brand recognition that people and families are going to have with financial institutions and really run the table.
It just seems like there's so many potential opportunities. We're hardly tapping the surface of what y'all are talking about. And speaking of the future, Paul, let's talk about the future of enterprise and agentic AI. How will CMG continue to invest in agentic AI to transform business operations over the next, say, 5 years or so?
Yeah, so I think what it really does start with, you have to kind of look at where you're touching the customer, right? So for me, it's the loan officer, right? We're in a position where everybody's worried that AI is going to replace individuals, right? For me, if you were at maybe one of the big box competitors that don't highlight their loan officers, maybe that is true. For us, we want to enable our loan officers. I want to build their brand. I want to make them omnipresent. And how do you do that? You give personalized interactions with consumers, leveraging technology across all mediums. text, email, voice. So for me, that's what we're really honing in on, is making sure that the LOs feel like they're everywhere and they have a scale capacity on their own. So not only are they branded everywhere, they get time back in their day, they're highly efficient with the right data at the right moment in time. We're automating things that allow their process to be better. So for me, that's where I see the big change, and it's going to allow us to go ahead and change the consumer experience, which gives us a competitive advantage. So if I'm looking at the next 5 years, which again, I think AI 5 years, it's like dog years now, so it's like 35 years at this point in time.
Right.
In 5 years, I don't know where we're going to be at. I do know where I'm going to be at in 1 year, which feels like the equivalent of 5 years when you're doing your planning, but we are going to be faster, and you're going to have hyper-personalized experiences, and we're going to be in a position where we're doing application deployment faster than we've ever done with not having to increase the number of people that we have.
I love that, and for the loan officers are going to love that, right? You're talking about the omnipresence and that exposure. It's such a great opportunity. Jeff, how do you see enterprise agentic AI transforming the industry in, say, the next 5 years?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. I think the future's now. I think the idea of an agentic enterprise is real. I think the idea of what it would look like 60 months from now is really hard to put a handle on. I think if today feels like a bit of an AOL dial-up moment, I can only imagine where any piece of viewed legacy technology, anything that costs more money than it should, takes more time than it should, is a cog in a wheel of a value chain or a supply chain that should work at scale, is absolutely a candidate for an agentic approach to thinking about how to optimize that in terms of internal cost and delight a borrower by being able to provide the level of certainty and brand that customers not only warm up to, but they choose for life because they're so comfortable with what's happening there. So I think you're looking at a moment now where legacy-esque technology is just fodder for net new agentic capabilities at the enterprise level. Not a standalone 4-iron or a 7-iron, but something across that whole threshold that allows you to think about agentic tied to CX, which in mortgage is the record of customer experience. That's where we live and we play, and it's the right place to build an agentic approach from an enterprise perspective.
You know, Paul, it's interesting, right? We're trying to talk about how we foresee AI, but it truly is, like you mentioned, it is like dog years because it is going so fast. It's like the Pythagorean theorem, right? It's a squared plus b squared equals, and we're on that c squared. That's that AI trajectory. Paul and Jeff, thank you all so much for your insights, and thank you all for watching. To learn more about mortgage lending, scan the QR code on your screen or check out sforce.co/mortgage software.